Hello, my name is M.K.Davis. I'd like to begin again with a conversation about the lost continent of Mu. In the first part of my presentation on this subject, we kind of ended there with the symbols of Mu. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the influence of Mu, especially along religious lines, that almost everywhere you look, you see, just the leftovers that are described by James Churchward when he translated I think it's called the Nakal tablets there in India. But it's like this. Either Mu did or didn't exist, and if it did exist, it might explain a few things. It's like, let's plug it in and let's see if some of the conundrums about religion and about the advent of man across the earth don't look a little more reasonable. So let's just talk a little bit about religion. The Bible is a very old book. But if you look in the very beginning of the Bible, the first 5 books that were penned by Moses, it's called the Pentateuch. You'll see at the beginning of each account, it'll say, in some versions it says, this is the history of Noah. This is the history of Adam. This is the history of so-and-so. These are items or manuscripts that were already there. Moses just compiled them. They were much older than Moses, and it's real interesting. Some of the things you see in there and how it compares to the religion of Mu. Let's take a look at some of them. If you recall, in part 1, we discussed that the religion of Mu was monotheistic, had only one God. That in itself is very reminiscent of the Bible, and it kind of boiled down to the very simplest of concepts. It was the fatherliness or the fatherhood of heaven and the brotherhood of man, which is, in its very essence, is about the same as Christianity in its pure forms. If Lemuria did exist and it did go down and mankind spread over the earth from there, it's likely they would carry the true or the original religion of that single deity that they worshipped, and no one knew the name of that deity. He only had a symbol. And he had a number as well, and that was the number 10. And in the Lemurian language, according to Churchward, they would not utter neither his name nor his number. And when he counted and it came to time to count 10, they would go 8, 9, 5 plus 5. So I found that very interesting because likewise in the Bible, God did not at first have a name. When Abraham asked him his name, he wouldn't give it. He says, I am is my name. I am the great I am, or the infinite one, or the one that exists over and above all other things. So this is very, very much along the lines of the original religion out of Mu, according to James Churchward, according to the Nakal tablets that were translated by him. Now, according to James Churchward, the man spread out from Mu, or Lemuria, out over the earth in a lot of different directions. And he said that there was actually a colony of Lemurians that established themselves along the Nile River in North Africa. And eventually this became Egypt. As a matter of fact, these narrow waterways between Lemuria and the other continents were called Egyptian canals. This was long before Egypt even existed. And so that the original religion was taken along with them there. And although later it became perverted into a polytheistic type of setup, there was a sect that kept the original religion of Mu, and that if a person could go and contact them and learn that religion in its pure form. And no doubt many people did. This was probably what Plato did when he learned about Atlantis, and numerous other people from the ancient world, that would be Aristotle and the like. There was also, Moses was schooled in his younger days in Egypt, and even Jesus himself spent time in Egypt. So this was available, the original true religion, to people who sought after it in Egypt. It's kind of interesting to note that there was an attempt by an Egyptian pharaoh to reestablish a monotheistic religion in Egypt, and it lasted just during his reign. And I think that they got really mad about it. And then when he passed, they tried to erase him off all of the hieroglyphic walls and the symbols and all the statues and everything, but were unsuccessful. We do know about him. His name was Akhenaten. And Akhenaten was the father of Tutankhamun, a very famous leader there in Egypt in ancient times. So, where did Akhenaten learn in the middle of a polytheistic world? Where did he learn of the true God, the one God, the original deity, and what motivated him to want to reestablish this at his own disfavor? It's interesting to note. Like we said before, that even Jesus spent time in Egypt. And, Churchward, James Churchward, noted that the last words that Jesus used as he was being executed were not Hebrew words, but they were actually Lemurian words. And he was able to translate them. And this is what he said that Jesus said in the Lemurian tongue. I'll read it to you. He said, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. And the Churchward says, this is not Hebrew, nor any tongue that was spoken in Asia Minor during the life of Jesus. It is the pure tongue of the motherland, badly pronounced and spelled incorrectly in the New Testament. It should have spelled and read and pronounced Hele, Hele, Lamal, Sabachthani. The translation is, according to Churchward, Hele, I faint. Hele, I faint. Lamat Sabachthani, darkness is coming over my face. And he says he doesn't stand alone on that a prominent Mayan scholar by the name of Don Antonio Batres Jarique translated Jesus' words in Mayan, and it was virtually the same thing. I faint, darkness comes over my face. So the language of Mu and the Mayan language are very close, very close. Churchward says that the Mayans are the direct descendants of the Lemurians, and their language is right there together. So he was able to translate the last words of Jesus in the Mayan language, and it meant exactly the same thing as what Churchward translated according to his knowledge of the Nikal tablets. The big question is, how did Jesus know Lemurian? And like I said, there had been a sect in Egypt that kept the monotheistic religion. It's where Akhenaten got it, and it's where a lot of the information that Plato got, and numerous other scholars that went to Egypt, you could get that religion from there. It was being practiced in a sort of clandestine way. So Jesus, in his time in Egypt, no doubt Moses in his time in Egypt had access to that original manuscripts and the original religion, the fatherhood of heaven and the brotherhood of man, that simple religion that is in its very essence Christianity. Now please keep in mind that these are not my thoughts, nor my leanings on religion, but simply an exploration of Colonel James Churchward's translations of those tablets in India that contain the history of the lost continent of Mu. And I'm in the process of exploring them. I try to relate them to things that we already know, and give it a chance to see if it works out. I call it plugging it in, but there's a lot of mysteries regarding the very distant history of the earth and of mankind, and when you get an explanation, it's well worth exploring to see if it doesn't fit all that we know. And we'll continue with some more of this at a later date with part 3 of the lost continent of Lemuria. I thank you for your time.